Hey everyone, and welcome to Boston Autoblog. Over the last year and a half or so, Cadillac has spent a lot of time repositioning their vehicles, specifically the sedan lineup, as the ATS and CTS are on their way out, and for 2020 we have the CT4 and CT5. They've been repositioned to be more competitive in a somewhat growing subcompact and compact sedan market, despite the fact that people are really going towards crossovers, while also being more competitive when it comes to pricing. Now, back in the summer, I got my first taste of the Cadillac CT4 and I was thoroughly impressed. But the premium luxury wasn't enough for me, and that's why I am back to take a look at the CT4-V series, which is going to be more powerful, but also most certainly more fun to drive. So in this video, we're going to take a good long look at the Cadillac CT4-V series, and for 2021, they've made some minor adjustments to this car that, in my opinion, makes this sedan right here very appealing. We're also going to see if you are looking at buying a sportier, more of a subcompact sedan, maybe buying American might be a great decision over buying a Mercedes-Benz, BMW, or Audi. Now, before I get in this review, I'll thank Colonial Cadillac in Woburn, Massachusetts for allowing me to do this review. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Cadillac inventory. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right in this review. American automotive brands, specifically those who've traditionally been known as luxury manufacturers, have had to face many hurdles and explore different paths to return to their former glory in the eyes of most Americans. 25 years and counting, BMW and Mercedes-Benz are often looked at as the pinnacle of performance and refinement, while non-German brands are considered to be second-rate. Cadillac, as of late, has been on a roll, revitalizing their product line with appealing crossovers and rearranging sedans to better compete this decade. The Cadillac CT4-V series has to be one of the more intriguing new additions to a surprisingly popular small car segment, as it takes a different approach to make a name for itself compared to the ATS. Starting off with pricing, the CT4-V series comes in at $46,390 if you opt for all-wheel drive, and our model for this review is very well equipped for a total right around $55,000. Depending on whether you prefer a slightly larger vehicle compared to a BMW 2 Series or Mercedes-Benz CLA, the CT4 outclasses all its competition in terms of dimensions, and is actually very similar in size to a 3 Series and Audi A4, but thanks to pricing, finds itself in the subcompact sedan segment. It's that ingenious positioning by Cadillac that gives the sedan a great value proposition, especially when factoring in performance, which we'll talk about later on. The main talking point for the CT4-V series has to be its aggressive and unorthodox styling for a Cadillac, as gloss black accents contrast very well with the Summit white paint color. This new front fascia that moves away from the chrome-dominated grills of the past may to a certain degree turn off older buyers. However, for a younger demographic, initial responses have generally been positive. Adding a more upscale look, the optional front lighting and assist package will bring a full LED headlight design with front cornering lamps for a classier appearance. As mentioned back in the summer, the headlights being integrated into the front grille gives the sedan a unique and memorable road presence that's also ushering in a new era for Cadillac's overall design. Moving over to the side profile, The model for our review is sitting on the optional 18-inch premium painted alloy wheels with a pearl nickel finish. You can upgrade to 19s for added aggressiveness. And enhancing your driving experience, you will have Brembo V Performance front brakes for improved braking when you're on a spirited drive. An added aesthetic for the V Series is the gloss black side skirts for a sportier look. You'll get body color folding side mirrors with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. Coming around to the back, this spec does a great job of showcasing the gloss black rear diffuser and quad exhaust outlets, which really makes the sedan look sinister from the rear. The way in which Cadillac molded the CT4-V series, it retains the traditional classy and luxurious design elements you expect from this brand. But as we saw up front, there's an individual characteristic to this car with the LED taillights that just can't be compared to rivals or be accused of looking like every other vehicle on the road. Under the hood, the CT4-V series is powered by a 2.7-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that puts out 325 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission. With competitors such as the Mercedes-Benz A35 and CLA 35 AMG, BMW M235i, and Audi S3, the CT4-V needs to be sporty and aggressive when accelerating, and you can expect a 0 to 60 time right around 4.8 seconds according to Cadillac. This means the CT4 can most certainly keep up with its rivals. Welcomed by many enthusiasts, rear-wheel drive does come standard for optimal enjoyment behind the wheel. But better suited for the New England region, you can opt for all-wheel drive for year-round drivability. For fuel economy, you can expect to receive right around 20 miles per gallon in the city and 29 miles per gallon on the highway. Inside, there's two major differences compared to the CT4 Premium Luxury we featured earlier in the year, and that is the all-new 12-inch digital display that is part of the technology package, and also the rotary dial and quick access buttons that complements the infotainment system very well. But before getting into all of that, our model has the power-adjustable heated and ventilated leather seats for both the driver and passenger, with the driver's side being 2-position memory for added convenience. These seats provide a good amount of bolstering to keep you in place when you want to have some fun behind the wheel. Getting back to that digital display, this is really where the CT4 becomes a true competitor to the Germans, as technology has really been one of the weak spots for Cadillac up until this year. By using the buttons mounted on the steering wheel, you can customize this display to your liking by deciding what pieces of info you want to see on the left side of the screen. Even better and more eye-catching when accelerating, the RPM gauge comes to life to keep you laser-focused and engaged behind the wheel to give you a race car-like feel when you're on a spirited drive. Moving over to the infotainment system, you have a touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility to go along with onboard navigation and the upgraded 14-speaker Bose Premium Surround sound system. As mentioned earlier, you will have a rotary dial and quick access buttons to quickly and easily get you to different menus. Of course, you will have a rear backup camera with trajectory, and with the driver assist package, you'll also have reverse automatic braking for added safety. Below, you'll find 2 rows of buttons for your dual-zone climate control, front and rear defrosters, and 3-level heated and ventilated seats. As we work our way towards the center console, as part of the navigation package, you will have a wireless phone charging pad. To the right of the rotary dial, your drive mode selector, traction control on and off button, and auto start stop are all within arm's reach. And adding some sportiness to the cabin, the CT4-V series will have carbon fiber inlay for a modern look. For the center storage compartment, you'll find enough room for small items, a USB and USB-C input, and rounding out the front seating area, a power moonroof will let in a lot of natural light to the interior. Now, before moving on from the interior portion of the CT4-V series, I do want to focus on some of the really smaller aspects and details that in my mind makes the CT4-V series for 2021 now on par with non-German and even some German rivals. Now, this is not new for 2021, but it's specific for the V series, is the quick access buttons, rotary dial, and touchpad, which pairs up very well with this user interface. I wish that we would see this layout in the regular CT4 because the premium luxury I had reviewed earlier this summer didn't have this setup, and I personally like having the quick access buttons and rotary dial. It just makes using this while driving so much better. But the reason why I am here is to check out the new 12-inch digital gauge cluster for the CT4-V series, which in my mind now makes this car most certainly on par with the Genesis G70 and the Alfa Romeo Giulia TI Sport, and also even the BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe and the Mercedes-Benz CLA. And to me, this might be a bit blasphemous, depending on how you look at it, but I think when it comes to quality, resolution, and graphics, this is what we expect to see in the Corvette. I think the Corvette model has very high quality digital gauges, and that's exactly what I'm experiencing here with the CT4-V series. And I have to say, it gives me a lot of confidence and a lot of enthusiasm moving forward for this brand, because I really hope to see a full digital gauge cluster moving forward with the CT5, XT4, XT5, and XT6, because we saw that with the Cadillac Escalade, and I really love what Cadillac is doing right now by going more futuristic, but also really giving us some modern day technology that really gives you a lot of confidence knowing that, you know what, the CT4 might be a car worth looking at, especially when I'm comparing it to, say, an Alfa Romeo Giulia or a Genesis G70. Also, for your head-up display, you're going to find 3 buttons on the left side of the steering column, which will adjust the brightness, also the height of the head-up display, and of course the info that is shown to you. So I really like that right there. It's all right within arm's reach. So what Cadillac has done here is make the interior very user-friendly, but also futuristic as well, and I can truly appreciate that as a tech geek, but also as a car enthusiast. Now for passengers in the back, let's be honest here. The CT4-V series is not going to have as much legroom as you'd expect in the XT4 and XT5. It's a small sedan. And of course, the CT4-V series might just be a car for a younger enthusiast that's looking for a fun daily driver. They can drive around town and also have some fun on the highway. And maybe they don't necessarily have a family either. However, maybe if you are looking at buying this car, you might have your friends in the backseat to experience what Cadillac has done here with the sedan. So I figured, why not check out the rear legroom anyway? Now, the seat is not adjusted further back. It's not necessarily on a recline either, but I do have a few inches of legroom to work with here. My only concern would be my feet, because it is a bit tight for my feet, but I do think that for shorter passengers, around my height, around 5'5", it could most certainly work for sure. Now, headroom is going to be an issue too, because the Cadillac CT4 has a very coupe-like roofline, so you definitely feel that in the second row, and I do think people are maybe like 5'9", 5'10", might be a bit cramped, but most likely you're not going to have tall passengers in the second row anyway. Now, just like with the CT5, I feel as though these cars are really meant to be grand tours, and with that, you're not going to be able to fit a third person in the back. Now, it also works very well for the CT4 because it's a small car. Most cars in this segment are just not going to be able to allow you to fit a third person, and that's exactly what I'm experiencing here with the CT4-V series. So I do think this sedan right here is better suited for 4 people overall, so 2 up front and 2 in the back. Now, on the driver's side, the seat is adjusted to someone of my height, around 5'5", and I do have a good amount of legroom to work with here. So once again, I do think shorter passengers are going to be just fine, but definitely keep in mind that if you do have taller passengers on a daily basis, they might be a bit cramped. But I do believe, though, that this car is more driver-focused. It's meant for an enthusiast, not necessarily someone with a family. Also back here, you will get 2 rear air vents to go along with the 12-volt outlet. And rounding out the rear seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Now coming around to the back, you're going to receive right around 10.7 cubic feet of rear cargo space, which does not sound like a lot in reality, but this is what we expect to see in this price range and segment. Now the last time I had checked out the CT4, a lot of you asked me, could you fit a set of golf clubs. And I think you can most certainly do that, mostly due to the fact that the cargo area is set very low. It's very deep. So even though on paper it doesn't seem like quite a lot, I do think you could fit some items for sure back here, along with groceries. And then with the rear seats folded down, you're going to get additional room. So if you have extra equipment like myself when it comes to camera gear, you're going to fit more items. And especially if you are going to the golf course, you're going to have a lot more room for those extra golf clubs. Also back here, you are going to have a little cubby on the right side for some smaller equipment, maybe water bottles or things that might get thrown around while you're on a very spirited drive with the CT4-V. But overall, I do think this is practical for what it is. And again, if you are buying a sedan, your practicality isn't going to be your top priority, and this is really going to be your fun daily driver. All right, so before we set off and we test drive the Cadillac CT4-V, I want you guys to leave a comment below in the comment section. Let me know what you think of the audio. I'm using a new audio sound recorder, so it should be a little more higher quality than in the past few videos with the test drives. Also, we have 3 camera angles, one facing me, one over my shoulder, and one on the moonroof, just to make this video a lot more in-depth and also more enjoyable to watch. Oh, wow, okay. Has some power to it. Of course, 325 horsepower, 380 pound-feet of torque. Paired with this 10-speed automatic transmission, it feels a lot different than the CT4 I test drove back in the summertime. Steering input is different as well. I feel a lot more connected to the road. And again, it's really due to the sports tuned suspension, but this really feels like a sports car. And I can totally see myself enjoying this drive today. This is gonna be pretty fun. It actually sounds pretty good for a 4-cylinder engine. You definitely get the turbo spool as well, which I love. When it comes to steering input, I feel so much more connected to the road than the CT4 I test drove back in the summertime. And steering also has been tuned differently as well. So with the regular CT4 Premium Luxury that I had reviewed before, it was a very tight steering, but without the sports tuned suspension, that's all it was. It was very tight. This is actually a zippy little car that is really enjoyable to drive. So since I'm on more of a regular street here, I'm gonna go into touring mode just to see how the CT4-V series reacts. And what I notice is that it does relax a bit. Steering input isn't as tight, it loosens up. And of course, throttle response also changes as well. So this is probably the mode you're gonna wanna be in when you are driving in the city or on regular streets in the suburbs. But I have to say, I kind of miss the track mode. So I think once I get to the next stoplight, I'm gonna put this back in track mode, because that's when this car really comes to life. Now, steering is very smooth, which again, you don't expect to see with American brands. So Cadillac has really bucked the trend when it comes to American manufacturers. So they've made the steering tighter, they've made it smooth, and it is very comparable to non-German brands, such as Lexus and Infiniti, but also this would be very competitive to the Alfa Romeo Giulia and also the Genesis G70. Now with Cadillac, I think a lot of consumers and enthusiasts were a bit disappointed that Cadillac was dropping the ATS-V and CTS-V. And I really feel as though a lot of people were trying to equate those cars to competing with the BMWs of the world, the Audis and Mercedes-Benz, where I think that that actually was a detriment to Cadillac. I think it would have been better for them to go in their own direction. That's what they're doing right now. When you look at what they've done with their crossovers, and what you're seeing with the CT4 and CT5, they're now trying to be themselves. And we're starting to see an actual individual characteristic with these cars. So, of course, steering input and the smooth of the driving experience might be a little different than BMW, Audi, Mercedes-Benz, but I can live with that when you're giving me a great driving experience overall. The CT4-V series is very fun to drive. It's very enjoyable. And even when you're not having it in track mode, so I have it in touring mode, it's nice to just cruise around in the city. It's a really nice place to be. And then, of course, when you want to have that fun behind the wheel, you put it in track mode, and this car really comes to life. So I love what Cadillac is doing here. They're moving in their own direction. They're not trying to be like the Germans, which I think is a great thing for them. I think it's great for Cadillac to be their own entity and to give us an American luxury experience rather than being like a fake German style. I personally didn't like the CTS-V and ATS-V just because I knew from a buyer's perspective, people are still going to buy a BMW M3 or M5. Whereas this actually gives you some pause and makes you question, you know what, maybe I should look at buying a Cadillac CT4-V over, say, a Mercedes-Benz CLA or an Audi A3 or a BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe. And I actually see where this car could become very popular. I like the braking of this car. It brakes really well. The Brembo brakes are really responsive. Wow. Okay. Pretty nice. I have to say, this car is pretty fun to drive. Now, of course, it's not going to be as aggressive in the shifts with this 10-speed automatic as you would find in maybe more of an aggressive sports car. But I think it's a good mix. It's a good mixture of having that luxury aspect and also having the sportiness as well. I think this car blends the luxury and the performance pretty well. Now, as I loop back towards the dealership, I want to give my lasting impressions on this car. And for me, it's that Cadillac has finally figured out how to create a car that draws in a younger demographic. And a lot of people my age, a lot of millennials, we grew up at a time when Cadillac, Lincoln, and Mercury, and even Buick, were on their way out. That they were no longer the brands that people would aspire to buying and purchasing. And everything's been about Germans for the last 20 years. If you want to buy a car that provides a great driving experience, great handling, great performance, you go BMW, Audi, or Mercedes-Benz. And you never looked at Cadillac as being a viable option. I think even today, people are looking at Genesis, they're looking at Alfa Romeo. However, I think with the Cadillac CT4-V series and also the CT5-V series, I think they have a winner on their hands. I really honestly do. I think when you look at what Cadillac is offering here at around $55,000, they've given us a car that I actually want to drive at all times. I really don't want to give the keys back at all. I'm really enjoying my driving experience with this car. And the thing is, too, is that I think now more than ever, when you look at BMW, Audi, Mercedes-Benz, they're now vulnerable at this price range. Because when you look at the 2 Series Gran Coupe, CLA, and also maybe the Audi A3, S3. I think the S3 is a benchmark in this segment, but I do believe that they're not the best cars that these brands are offering. I think the Germans can offer a lot better. However, this is really where Cadillac, Genesis, Alfa Romeo can come in and say, hey, we can give you a great driving experience. We can give you great technology now. We can give you a very aggressive road presence with this car at a price range that won't necessarily break the bank. Because I think at a price range around $46,000 to $55,000, this car becomes very appealing for sure, especially if you're looking at strictly buying a new car. I like what Cadillac is offering here. I really do. I think that when you give me a great driving experience without selling me the idea that this is a BMW replacement or an Audi replacement, I can buy into what you're selling. I really truly can. And to me, I think Cadillac has finally nailed it. They've finally figured it out. And of course, I think you could say, well, you know, Mercedes-Benz will offer a better luxury experience, and, you know, maybe, you know, German brands in general will offer better packages. But I think with what Cadillac's offering here when it comes to driving dynamics, handling, and performance, I think that this is plenty enough. It's just really fun to drive. It reminds me of other enthusiast-oriented cars that they might not be the most powerful, they might not be the cars that are going to draw the most amount of attention, but as a driver, you're going to be focused at all times. You're going to be captivated at all times. And I think that's what Cadillac has here with the CT4-V series. I'm captivated. I'm drawn in. I don't want to give the keys back to the dealership. I want to keep driving it. And it really does speak to me as an enthusiast. And I like that. Even though it's a 4-cylinder and people are going to be like, well, I miss the V6, I miss, more powerful engine. I have to be honest. I think with the 4-cylinder, this car responds just fine. I think, of course, when it comes to the sound aspect, I think you could say, well, maybe, a V6 or a V8 would sound better. But for what, for where this segment is going in, with the 4-cylinders, most of the brands right now and most of the cars in this segment that will compete with the CT4-V series are powered by 4-cylinder engines. This car could definitely hang with those brands and hang with those vehicles. So for me, I'm impressed overall. So at the end of the day, after taking this car out for an extensive period of time, I have to say I am very compelled with the CT4-V series. It's fun to drive, it's powerful, it's maneuverable, it's everything that I'm looking for in a smaller sedan. And I have to say, the repositioning of the CT4 and CT5 has given Cadillac the opportunity to become very successful and really find some success in the sedan market. Not only is this competing with the likes of the S3, the CLA 35 and 45 AMG, and also the BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe, but I do think you could cross-shop this with the Alfa Romeo Giulia and the Genesis G70, and I think currently, with the current models for the Giulia and the G70, I think the CT4-V series makes a great argument for itself to be the next vehicle in your garage or in your driveway. But also when it comes to the exterior of the CT4-V series, it's youthful, it's modernized, it's futuristic, and it draws in a younger demographic of consumer. And every single millennial I talk to loves the new CT4 and CT5. And I think it really comes down to the fact that the chrome isn't as aggressive as the old ATS, CTS, and XTS. And we prefer gloss black bits. We prefer mesh grills and honeycomb grills, and also carbon fiber inlay. So this car is really meant for us. And as a younger enthusiast, around 27 years old, I love this car. I really do. It's compelling. It draws me in. It gives me a European-like driving experience without actually being a copy of a BMW, Audi, or Mercedes-Benz. Cadillac is going their own direction, and I can truly appreciate that. As somebody who never really looked at Cadillac as being a brand that I would buy, or a brand that I actually had a favorable opinion on prior to test driving these cars and filming them, Cadillac is moving in the right direction, and I truly believe that if you are looking for a sporty car that would go up against, say, an Audi S3, Mercedes-Benz CLA, and also the BMW 2 Series Gran Coupe, I think you should definitely take the CT4-V series out for a test drive, because I do think you're going to be very impressed. I understand the Cadillac badge isn't as sexy, isn't appealing as BMW or Mercedes-Benz, but you know what? It's a new generation, it's a new era, and Cadillac is giving us cars that really speaks to us as younger buyers. So for me, I'm really impressed with the CT4-V series. Very fun to drive. It's too bad I have to give the keys back to the dealer once I'm done filming this. And to me, I just think that Cadillac has a winner on their hands, and it's also just a car that I think that you'd be very impressed by, and a car that you want to drive on a daily basis. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time.